Hi folks, welcome back to another edition of Making Do, I guess? High-tech making do. So we could make this restoration of these GFRC, glass fiber reinforced concrete, I believe. Gargoyles slash lions. We could make this really complicated, but you know, basically the sculptures are very rough. These are chintzy. You know, they've got some good forms, but they were hollow. I think they were part of some gaudy Italian restaurant decor. I was rolling through the city 6 months ago, and I saw the backs of them sitting there by the side of the road. And I could see that they were a little chipped up, and I said, oh, they're GFRC, they're not solid concrete. They're going to be relatively light for what they are. And in theater, you always are. I mean, something like this looks fantastic from the house, especially with a little bit of a dry brush to make the details pop. So I wanted to scoop them up, and when I got around to it, I see the guys that were demoing out the restaurant had just had some fun and smashed the face right out of this one. But luckily, this face was just broken up. He's a bit crispy. You can see him kind of moving there. He was completely stove in and kind of almost inside out, so I pulled it out, reconstructed it. I got some tape holding it here. I've got string holding his chin up and pulling his face sort of out. And then all I'm doing is using a plastic fork here because I wouldn't want to use a sculpting tool necessarily, like a professional sculpting tool. This is construction adhesive, polyurethane based construction adhesive, PL Adhesive specifically. It's a fast grab, I want to say. It's not the 3 times stronger, but it's the 8 times stronger fast grab premium. It's a really aggressive and thick-bodied adhesive that air dries. Most of the stuff professional grade stuff that I use catalyzes and cures chemically, which has its benefits. However, in volume, that stuff can be really expensive, and so for $6, $8, maybe $9, $10 a tube, this is actually pretty cost-effective when you've got to do some cruddy kind of project like this one. Now what I'm trying to do here is move the adhesive around. I got it on areas that were missing the outside surface entirely. I'm ripping off and mixing in loose. I'm just trying to make the first move I'm making here like that is dry underneath, so it makes no difference that we're getting adhesive on top of it. If it's dry underneath, it's not actually going to bond. I'm making a what's the word that I want? I thought I could do this and focus and speak all at the same time. Homogeneous. I want to homogenize the broken pieces, the adhesive, and spread it all around and be relatively faithful to the forms that this guy has. I need a place to strike my tool off occasionally. I want to be relatively faithful to the forms that are going on here, because I can come back afterward, that chunk out of here, and build up a finishing material like a plaster and be more concerned about the final shapes and finishes after I've got something to work on top of that is homogenized and stable. So I don't want to, you know, the hair's rolling off and down. It's hard to see in black here. These will look great. I'll follow up with this when we do a dry brush on them. But the hair is cascading down, so while I may move the material around with the fork to get it up underneath everything across the grain, when I'm through with that, I am trying to make shapes that flow with the major forms here, so that I don't have to cover everything up. In fact, some of this may work once I knock down some of the shaggy stuff with a really coarse sandpaper tomorrow when this is dry. In fact, most of this may just work, certainly if I get stalled out and I have to do other things for this show and I can't get back to these and we just paint them black even for this year or something. These forms will work, and somebody else can come back, or I can come back and mess with it the next time we want to use these. I should have done this right when I got them. it's just something in me that never wants to. I feel that I do my best work, not under duress or when I've procrastinated, but I feel, this is my rationale, but I very honestly feel like I haven't got all the information to do something until the time is nigh, basically, to get it done. So many things come to light. You know, if I'd have made these repairs earlier, I wouldn't necessarily have known the show, or I wouldn't have known how they might be used, or I wouldn't have had construction adhesive lying around from doing something else, you know, so that I just could grab it and kind of mess with it. I'm actually, the reason I'm doing a video here is because I'm pretty pleased with myself for thinking of doing it this way. I had been thinking, oh, I've got to clean out the inside and lay them face down, and then try to reach up in there when it's laying face down, and this one, backfill the face area and make that, you know, substantial from the inside. And it's like I'm looking more and more at the quality of the sculpture here, which again is like the first couple of hours in water clay. If you're going to make something like this, I mean, this is a tremendous amount of work, quality work, in the first few hours of getting forms bulked up. The thing about these sculptures is that was as far as they went. Nobody ever, and I've cut the end of this really short, so I've got a lot of material coming out. Nobody went any farther than that to refine these sculptures, and they don't need to be. That's sort of the style for architectural sculpt like this. Certainly more contemporary architectural sculpt. Older stuff done in real stone. There's some lions in Pittsburgh that are like 8 feet tall. I'm sure they're in every city. There are some, but I remember these ones vividly because I went to school in Pittsburgh, and the quality of the sculpture was in the stone. It was sandstone or sedimentary rock of some kind, but still, the quality of the sculpture was outstanding. Now this is the eye, and it's not hairy. So while I'm in here, I'm going to stabilize. See the brow moving around and everything here. I'm going to stabilize that, but then I think I'm going to generally try to dig away most of any positive form here so that I have the ability to actually, just for my own sanity, to make me feel more professional, get an eye like this one kind of in there. So I'm just going to scrape that smooth. And again, I'm pulling up dry GFRC, and I just want to, this stuff is so tenaciously sticky. Polyurethane is really come into its own in the past 10 years. This adhesive has been around for some time, but I think it takes some time for industries to cross over. What is going on here with this caulk gun? Go down inside of the, what is the tube not fit in the gun? It's in there tightly. This is what you get with cheap shit. Jackass-inine piece of shit. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, urethane is just a miracle. You know, everybody's been familiar with the air dry kind of clear polyurethane in woodworking. But there are formulations for casting that catalyze and harden chemically. There are adhesives. There's all different kinds, clear, opaque, fast setting, slow setting. They're soft, which is nice. So when they've cured up and you've got a sand on them, you know, everybody's familiar with epoxies for casting and resins. And so, when you're talking resins, a lot of people feel like it's synonymous with epoxy, which it is not. However, what was I saying? Urethane is so much easier to sand. Epoxy is so hard, and a lot of people get into trouble counting on being able to tool areas of a casting or a coated project later that they do in epoxy, and then it's like, lo and behold, holy shit, is that stuff hard to sand and work on afterwards. So urethane's got a bunch of really cool and alternative benefits. A lot of the silicone places where I would use silicone in the past for clarity, like to seal the vanity in, against the wall in a bathroom, or the kitchen against the wall, or anything like that. Silicone can't be painted. The clear stuff for kitchen and bath, and it, you know, isn't technically bonded chemically to things. It mechanically bonds by getting in there soft and then turning into a solid, but it's not technically an adhesive. And now you can get urethane that I just used on the soffit, kitchen soffit box removal project from Sherwin-Williams, that goes in white and dries clear. And if you get a little bit overzealous with it, you can come back with the wall color paint and paint down over the little smeary, shiny clear, right down to the actual bead that you wanted, and not sweat it. And it's actually adhered both to the stone countertop in that circumstance and to the wall. So anyway, familiarizing yourself with the materials that you use to a certain extent has major benefits. We will come back and look at this and see if he's been made any more structurally sound after this. So I'm going to quit babbling and put the phone down and do some better work here, and then we'll come back and look at it when it's dried up and see what we've been able to achieve. And then in the end, the goal is to mold quickly this face and make a rough casting enough to smash into that and glue it in place. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. We'll see you.